Hi, everybody. This is Todd Creager. So, what I want to tell you is that I do a lot of work with helping couples heal from infidelity. And, if you've ever wondered if a relationship can survive infidelity, well, today we're diving into that exact question. So stick around because I've got two to be exact, inspiring stories to share with you. Okay, so I want to tell you some statistics. Okay, so the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, AAMFT, according to them, about 50% of couples who seek therapy for infidelity related issues report significant improvements in their relationship. And that's the source, like I said, is AAMFT. There's also another study from the Journal of Marital and Family Therapy that said that approximately 65% of couples who actively engaged in couples therapy following infidelity reported rebuilding trust and satisfaction in their relationship. So that was in that journal. Now, I want to tell you that those are okay statistics. There, if you could have a 50% success rate as AAMFT or 65%, which is just about two-thirds, according to Journal of Marital and Family Therapy that would be encouraging. Now, I could tell you that my rate is not that. My rate is higher. It is significantly higher. Um, and I would say that my success rate is probably closer to like 90%. And when I'm talking about success, we're not just talking about they stay together. I'm talking about they not only stay together, but they heal from the infidelity. They learn from the infidelity, even though I'm not saying it's a good thing, it's a terrible thing. But in many ways, their relationship grows deeper and they thrive in many ways more than they did pre-discovery of the infidelity. So why is that? Now, why does that happen? I mean, why do I have that kind of success rate? Um, well, one of the things that I've learned is that we need to help heal infidelity from the inside out, meaning that just like almost anything that people do, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Addictions don't happen in a vacuum. Infidelity don't happen in a vacuum. Defensive communication doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's always reasons why people do what they do, and there are different parts of people that will sabotage the adult, healthy parts of them that want to have a good, enjoyable, healthy relationship. So let me tell you two success stories I had, which definitely pulls out a little bit of what I'm talking about healing infidelity from the inside out. Okay, so I had one couple that they came in shortly after he was cheating. Matter of fact, he didn't get very far because the women shut him down, the other women. Otherwise, it would have been a lot more involved. But it was discovered that he did that, and that's when they came in, that he was really trying to have this affair. And his wife, which I find much of the time is a wonderful person. This is obviously never to blame the person who was betrayed, and definitely in this case is the same. So, what would make him go out and do this thing? Well, for one, he grew up in a family where he was never good enough. He had to be perfect. He actually had a regulated mom who was alcoholic, who had all kinds of issues with her own self-esteem, and she looked to him to build her up. And so he had to be perfect, and he wasn't perfect. Nobody is. So of course he went around feeling not enough, but he was kind of consumed with getting affirmation from his mother and from others. And so he lived for affirmation. He ends up marrying this woman who happens to be a very beautiful and successful, financially successful person running her own successful business. He started help her out and working for her in her business. I mean, he just felt inferior, and he didn't share those feelings with his partner. Really, just kept it to himself. And so what he did was find a woman who was younger, not nearly as successful as his wife, who showed some interest, and he went for it. He was looking for that affirmation, which he didn't get enough of in his family childhood growing up. And so he was maybe in some ways impoverished for it and didn't know how to feel good from the inside out, always looking for others to show that he's okay. And even though his wife was quite complimentary, it wasn't all the time. And plus, he had his own story, his own narrative about how she's successful and he's not, and he felt more and more ashamed of himself. And this was his way of trying to escape that shame and feel good about himself. So they came in, we explored that. He got in touch with that part of him that felt ashamed. We did some work on his issues with his mother. He started to realize that his life was always about trying to uh, regulate his mom and also look to feel okay about himself based on what his mom and other people said about him and showed about him. He realized that he was kind of hollow inside. He was kind of empty. He didn't know how to feel good from the inside out. Didn't go to himself, which is true for a lot of people. So we really helped him do that. Did some trauma work. I did some EMDR therapy with him, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. We helped him uh, find his own voice in the marriage where he could share his feelings, whether they were positive, pleasant feelings or unpleasant. He stopped hiding because you realize he came from a family where he hid. He hid his insecurities from his mother. He always tried to present because that's what she needed. And so this is when people train to hide. So not only was he looking for affirmation, but he was a trained hider. So this is a relationship. I'm fortunate to know them 20 years since then. And I know they've continued to thrive. He's continued to grow as a human being. His wife has continued to set healthy boundaries and has asked of him to be a grown up. I remember one time in a session, he came by himself and he says, I have a bone to pick with you. And I said, what is that? And he goes, you did too good a job with my wife because she used to be too passive. I actually saw her she knew him. Okay. She used to be too passive and let other people run all over her. And now she's so assertive. She doesn't let me get away with shit. I said, okay, you can pick that bone with me all you want, but I'm good with that. He goes, all right, I'm good with that too. I said, yeah, she's going to ask of you to be a grown up. You can't get away with being a child, always looking for a pat on the back or sneaking. So this is something he really worked on. And this is a couple that have thrived. And I know them 20 years later. They haven't seen me continuously, but from time to time they'll come in for a different issue. Sometimes a parenting issue, sometimes this issue or that issue, but they're doing great. I want to share another success story, which happened quite a while ago too, but it's a little different. I like to bring in uh, different kinds of stories. In this one, this was a couple that didn't have a child at first, okay, and I mean they got together, they got married, but um, there was not much communication with them. Um, they the husband definitely had a lack of communication and emotional connection with his wife. He just didn't share much. He came from a family where he was it wasn't like the other person I just mentioned where um, the other person was always trying to get affirmation from his mom. This person was kind of left by himself. So he was alone a lot, didn't really know what it looked like because his parents didn't have a good connection. So they came in because she discovered that he was cheating while she was pregnant. Ouch. unfortunately, this happens a lot. So you have a man who doesn't communicate well because he came from a family where he didn't communicate well. His wife, she was a kind of a good person, maybe overly good. And so she was just adapting to the lack of connection and didn't really make enough waves there either. And yet, before she got pregnant, she had more energy for him. She got pregnant. She had some health challenges. It wasn't all about him. He felt all alone. A coworker gave him some attention. And so, as the first person was really looking for affirmation, this man was starved of attention when he was younger, and then, which happens in marriages, like the first example, the wife couldn't always compliment him. And this marriage, she didn't have the energy while she was pregnant to give him the kind of attention that he had when they were newlyweds. Even though, again, they didn't really ever have a deep emotional connection, but at least they did things together. And that slowed down a lot when she was pregnant. So he started this affair, and she discovered it after she had the child. So she has the child, discovers the infidelity, devastated, obviously. This is a time in the life where she wants him, she needs him, they're going to bond as a family, and he cheats. She kicks him out, which is good. I think it was good. She set boundaries. She had a family that was able to support her, at least in taking care of the child. And he came to visit, but he wasn't living there. And so they came to see me at that point, and they came in for a few sessions. He wasn't ready to give up the affair with the affair partner. Again, more devastation. So that was it. A few months later, I get a phone call from him saying, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm an idiot. I want to work this out with my partner. I said, I don't know if she's going to want to work this out with you. She might. You might need to ask her, because he talked to me about it before he talked with her about it. So he talked with her about it, and she had a lot of mixed feelings. Like, I don't know if I can trust you. Look what you did. Look when you did it. This was a tough case. Because not only did he cheat, it was when he cheated. She was so vulnerable. She agreed to come and see me with him. And uh, we really looked at a number of things. His tendency not to communicate, her tendency. And we never blamed her. He was the one that cheated. It was all about what he did to cope with lack of attention. He could have done a lot of other things. It wasn't that bad. He just was like the little boy that ran to somebody that gave him attention, as opposed to go to his partner and say, let's work it out. But again, didn't have those role models. So, I could tell you this, that he came in because he realized what he was missing. And I think he did some of that. He had a moment. But I think what also helped was her setting boundaries about when he could see the baby and all that, and he realized he was really losing out. So it was a combination of her not being so nice and him realizing he needed to grow up and decide what he really, really wanted in life. And he wanted this family. So he really showed up like that. And he really showed up wanting to make this work. She had a lot of distrust. But what we started was work on their communication in that case, self-reflection for both of them, communication, um, recognizing his own emotional insecurities and her emotional insecurities. She put up with his lack of connection. He hid, in just like the other person did. Typically when someone commits infidelity, they've been hiding other things before, and usually feelings, desires, wants, confusions. So they really start to talk about these tough things. And he still lived separate. He wasn't ready to have him come in. It was a slow process. And they communicated difficult issues. He started to work on his avoidant attachment style, where he was able now to let her be there for him. She she was working with it, but her walls were up still. At some point, when he consistently showed up the way he did, consistently communicated more openly, and consistently showed a curiosity and interest in his partner, which we really worked on, I looked at her and I said, you have to make a decision at some point to drop your wall or not. But take a look at what you see in his communication style. Is he showing changes? Is he showing that he's a different person than he was before? Because look, we're all capable of doing that. What he did, that's not really the question. Are you capable of it? It's, is your healthy adult part running the show? And it wasn't for him. It was younger, childlike parts. The adult part that could think of others, think of his wife, think of himself and his wife, not just him. It became more clear and more consistent. So at some point, I did say to her, is it time to take a chance on your husband? Because at some point, you don't want to be ripped off from enjoying a family that, even though this happened and there's scars, it can still be beautiful. Like I've said many times, I have a few scars on my face, but I still think I have a relatively beautiful face. I should say relatively beautiful face, right? With scars, a few little ones. But the bottom line is, marriages always have some scars. We're just flawed people that came from flawed parental relationship role models. And so they did continue their communication. They saw me for a little while longer. It became more stable, and they really ended up having a wonderful family of three together. And haven't seen them for a while. I'm guessing by now that their family's expanded, but I don't know for sure. So, again, the key takeaways here is infidelity can stem from deeper emotional issues and insecurities within individuals. You need communication, self-reflection, forgiveness. Ultimately, it's got to be good timing on that. You can't just forgive too quickly, but they're essential for healing and rebuilding trust in relationships. And of course, every couple's journey is unique. These two couples had a very unique journey. But it's good sometimes to listen to these stories and learn from other people's experiences. That maybe could provide guidance for you in beginning to face some similar challenges if you have them, or people that have that. So communication, learning to have affirmation from within rather than just without, learning to communicate, know that sometimes you're not going to have your needs met all the time, bear it, but communicate it, try to solve problems as a couple rather than just being a soloist. Okay, so can a relationship survive infidelity? Absolutely. These stories prove that with dedication, communication, and forgiveness, ultimately, couples can overcome even the toughest challenges. If you're going through a similar situation, remember that you are not alone. Reach out for support and take the necessary steps towards healing. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the my Healing Infidelity from the Inside Out checklist, or click on it. You can subscribe to my email, my YouTube, and get on the wait list for my program, Healing Infidelity from the Inside Out. All right, so there's some good news despite the challenges. So that's what I wanted to say to you. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.